Hi friends, it's Taylor. Welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about my July budget review and my moving expenses. July was such a life-changing month because I just had so many things going on, and I'm filming this in August, which is my birthday month, and I really am doing a fresh start in my life. I have no savings, no car, no driver's license even, no apartment in my name. I'm just staying with a roommate right now, and then I'm moving again in a couple of months. I'm also taking a sabbatical from my business while I figure out exactly how I want to move forward. So it really is a new chapter. I guess it is perfect timing because this is my birthday month, but I could not have imagined that I would be here right now this year. I wanted to take you all through my budget, show you exactly how much everything cost, and in my next video I'll actually do a room tour so you all can see how I brought everything together based on what I spent. Sorry, Coda is here and he's probably gonna mess up my goodness, can you move? I'll be leaving links to everything in the description below, but I think that's all the context that you guys need for this video. And without further ado, let's get started. Let's dive right into my moving expenses, which I did track in Notion, but in a very simple way. So I just have a table or database for my groceries and then another for shopping. For groceries, I did not buy groceries based on stocking a full kitchen because I live with a roommate, and I also just wanted to only buy the bare necessities, and then as I got more cash flow in, I would buy more groceries as I needed. And so pre-tax, it was about $82, but after taxes and fees, as well as delivery through Instacart, I paid $95. For the shopping, I have 3 categories on this page. These are the things that were already in the apartment because I have a roommate and she already made sure these things were here. Already have are things that I had before the move that I knew would be necessary for everything that I needed in my room. And then bought, this is the total that I spent pre-tax, and I have an entire list sorted by category, my budget and actual, the store that I went to, and then links. For some of these things I didn't budget for because I just didn't plan to get them. So this budget number here is not exactly accurate, but for my actual, as I said, this was pre-tax. And then up top, I broke down the after-tax cost for Target, Amazon, and Uber, which was Uber delivery from Target. I ended up forgetting to get a toothbrush, so I had to have that delivered ASAP, and that's why that has its own category. But I do have separate tabs here in case I want to see each individual thing that I got at each store. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the Notion part. Now we are in Google Sheets, which is where I kind of went into more detail about how much I was spending in the move overall, and we will see these numbers in Monarch later, but I just wanted to show you what I have in Google Sheets right now. At the top, I have the amount of savings that I wanted to have by these dates, and the last time that I was getting paid was July 5th, so after that paycheck, I expected to have $3,600 for the move, and I ended up having $3,900, so it was great to have that extra cushion. Then I have my before move-in costs, so these were the things that I had to pay just to secure the place and get the keys. So I have the application fee, the security deposit, and instead of paying 1 month's rent, I only had to pay prorated rent for when I was moving in, so that was great in terms of saving money. For renter's insurance, I actually just got that today, August 6th, so I am not really counting it as moving expenses because it wasn't something that I got within that larger group of purchases, but that is something that you can budget for. And then for utilities, my roommate was already here, so I didn't have to worry about setting up anything. After paying the change of address fee for USPS, the total that I spent to secure the place was $1,677.10. And this remaining number here basically takes the total amount that I can spend on this move and subtracts that. And so this is the number I knew I was working with for moving weekend, which is the next section here. My original number of 320 was based on me and my boyfriend trying to do the move ourselves by renting a U-Haul, but after we calculated the costs, it was actually going to be cheaper to just hire someone to do the moving for us, which I highly recommend, and I don't think I can ever go back to moving my own furniture if I have the choice. So this also saved me money, and that was great. For fast food, I ended up spending more than I planned, which was fine because we were tired and I just wanted to keep this move as seamless as possible. For groceries, I already showed you this in Notion. This was $95. Household, this is a very big jump here. I technically went $1,100 over budget, but that is because this $600 was based on me not knowing exactly what I would need. I tried to make a list beforehand, but I really didn't know what I needed until after I got here, and so that's why that is such a big price jump. I also did not budget for parking, so I live in a metro area, and because we did our shopping at Target, which was in the metro area, we did have to pay $5 for parking. And then to get a copy of my mail key, I had to pay $4 and some change. So the total amount that I spent on the move was $3,869.90. And the difference from my savings was actually $38 and some change. So I am super grateful that I was able to stay under budget, even by a little bit. So these are my total moving costs. All right, we are here in the bread and butter of my budget review, which is Monarch Money. I want to start by looking at the plan, and you can quickly see my income, expenses, and goals, which in this context is going to be the amount that I withdrew from my savings, and that was $24.22, which we will go into detail once we get into the plan. And then also I have the spending section, which I think is really interesting because as you can see, like for June and even May, they were basically no spend months for me, so I barely spent anything. And then for July, because of this move, and then also my additional like just regular living expenses, I jumped up to $6,000. So as you can see, like I normally don't spend that amount of money, and it's a bit unnerving to see, but I got all of my needs taken care of, so I'm just trying to focus on that and just embrace that. Now, before we get started, I want to first go ahead and go to the Accounts tab and refresh all, and then I'm also going to go over to Transactions and add 3 pending transactions that are in my bank right now. And I want to do this for budget purposes. Once those transactions go through, I can delete these, but I need to be able to see like my full financial picture for this month, so I'm going to go ahead and add these in. And I just thought about it. I should have added these 3 transactions first before we looked at the spending, so we'll go back to that in just a second. All right, I just got through adding those 3 transactions, and let's go back to the dashboard. So yeah, it went up just a little bit. That's okay. The reason I wanted to come back to this view is because you can't see this snapshot anywhere else in Monarch. If you click spending, it just takes you to cash flow, which we will look at later, but it doesn't give you that breakdown of like your day-by-day expenses really. So I just really like this view, and I'm definitely going to screenshot this because this is pretty crazy. Right, now we're gonna head over to the accounts page, and some of my accounts got disconnected, so I did go ahead and reconnect those. Oh, well, it looks like I need to reconnect Nelnet, but I know that balance is accurate. So this is my net worth. The net worth is calculated on the last day of the month. So you can see my net worth went down this month because I ended up spending a lot on the move. But that's okay. You know, I'm still considering this a fresh start, so it's still pretty good for me, and I'm still making progress on my other debts. There are my investments. I did empty out my Acorns investments. It had like 70 something dollars in there just to have like extra cushion for this month in case anything came up. And then for my loans, I did have some payments go out this month for each of these 3 loans. So I am just going to add the transactions for each of these. So unfortunately, we're going to have to ignore the net worth that is on screen right now because Monarch is glitching out and my net worth is not accurate. Alright, I just finished going through all of my transactions and updating any information that I felt needed to be updated. And now that everything is done, my next step would be to request my reimbursements. Obviously, I can't do that in Monarch Money, so this is something I'm going to do outside of the video, but I wanted to say how important it is to make sure that you are following up with any money that is supposed to be owed back to you, so make sure you're keeping receipts to make this part of the review process as easy as possible. Now, I would usually head over to goals and see if there's anything I'm working towards, adjust them, and apply transactions. But I don't really have anything going on this month, so I'm going to just leave everything alone. And as I said before, we're starting from scratch, which is totally fine, and this is one less thing that I have to do for my budget review. The next thing I want to do is take a look at my recurring tab, which is my bill calendar, and I just want to go through and make sure that everything I had scheduled to come out this month did come out the way it was supposed to. And I also take this time to update the actual billing date if necessary. So, for example, my therapy charge didn't actually come out of my bank account until the 6th. So I just backdated it to the 4th because I know that always comes out every other Tuesday. Everything looks good on the bill calendar, so I am on the plan page now, which is the more popular view of a budget. And I'm just going to look at this kind of line item by line item and try to zero out each row if I can. The rollover amount, as usual, is just the money that I have left over in my bank, so there will never be an actual number because no money is actually coming out of my account. It's just already there by the time the 1st of the next month comes up. My rent and utilities now comes out on the last day of the month instead of the first day. So for budgeting purposes, this is actually going to be really good. So I went ahead and combined the total amount of rent that I spent in both my previous place and my new place for this month. And so I have that total here. I have my household. Coda had some vaccines and boosters that he needed to get this month, so that number was a little higher than expected, but I am okay with paying the premium to make sure he is healthy and safe. As for the next month's bills, the way that I calculate this number is going back to the recurring tab, and I look at the next month. I'm filming this on the 6th, so it automatically pulls up August, and I just look at what bills are coming out between the 1st and the 5th of the month. And for this month, the only things that are coming out are the Acorns investments, which is $5, and my therapy, which is $60. So I budget $65 to be left over. For moving expenses, this number is slightly different from the number in Google Sheets, and that is because if I scroll down here to moving expenses, I did have an application fee come out for another apartment that I did not get. So if you take the $38.95 and subtract 25, you get $38.70, which is Monarch rounding up the $38.69 that Google Sheets had. That's it for needs. For wants, everything was pretty easy. I will note that one thing I don't really like about Monarch is it rounds up to the nearest dollar automatically, and so sometimes you'll have this quote-unquote extra amount here, but then these two numbers are the same, so I try to ignore it, and hopefully we get more detailed amounts in the future with the actual cents instead of a rounded up number. But everything was good for wants. And then for wealth, I have my debts, investments, loans, and my safety net all at 0. For safety net, this is my term for emergency expenses or things that I didn't plan for. And so for July 29th, I had a power outage and had to order some food last minute. And then also July 30th, I needed to order some litter for Coda. So that was a total of $28. I would also like to mention that the $5 I mentioned here for my Acorns investments, I actually categorized them as a transfer in Monarch instead of an expense, because that $5 is being transferred as an asset to my Acorns account. And so I never really count that as money that I'm losing, although I do have to make sure it is in my checking account so that it can get transferred. Other is usually left empty, and it's left empty again this month. And then for goals, which is Monarch's term for savings, I'm going to hide these two. We're going to start by reviewing my moving fund. So in July, I withdrew $2,222, but then I got $2.53 in interest. So Monarch is showing that number going up about $3 here, and that's why it's not showing 2,222, it's showing 2,219. And for the emergency fund, for July, I withdrew 100, but then on the last day of the month, which was July 31st, I transferred $70 into my emergency fund. I was so grateful to even have that. And then I also got 15 cents in interest paid to this account. And then the same for the sinking funds. I did withdraw $100, as you can see here, and then I got 14 cents in interest. And so total, I ended up putting $70 towards my savings, and that leaves me with $5 left here, and that $5 refers to the Acorns transfer. So this is now a zero-based budget, and everything is good for July. All right, that's it for my July budget review. I hope this gave you all, I guess, a better idea of what it actually costs to move and how things can sometimes end up being above your budget. But I'm still happy that I have a place to stay, all my needs are met, so yeah, I'm just a happy camper. It's still kind of surreal starting over in this way, but you know, I have all of my needs met, so I can't really complain. As I said earlier, I will be doing a room tour in my next video, so make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you can see exactly how everything came together. But that's all for today's video. I hope you enjoyed watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Much love.